In October 2019, a sleepy town in Kerala, India, became the epicenter of a chilling murder mystery that shocked the nation. Nestled in the lush greenery of Kerala's Kozhikode district lies the small village of Koodathayi. It is a place of quiet roads and sleepy afternoons, where rubber trees sway in the breeze and neighbors exchange pleasantries across garden walls. Life here moves at an unhurried pace, a slice of simple, contented existence. And within that tranquil setting lived the Panamadam family, one of the area's most well-known Christian households. They were respected, devout, and seemingly blessed. But what the community couldn't have imagined was that behind the curtains of their well-maintained home, something dark had taken root. Something that would eventually reveal itself as one of the most sinister cases in India's modern true crime history. This is the story of Jolly Joseph, a woman who appeared warm and educated, who carried herself with grace and humility, but who allegedly murdered 6 members of her own family over the span of 17 years. I'm VanessaGrey, and this is True Crime After Dark. Jolly Joseph, a 47-year-old woman from Koodathayi, Kozhikode, was arrested for allegedly murdering 6 members of her family over 14 years. What unfolded in the months following her arrest was a saga of calculated deception, alleged greed, and a family's slow descent into inexplicable tragedy. Jolly Joseph met Roy Thomas in 1997 at his uncle's house in Katappana, Idukki district. Roy came from the well-regarded Panamadam family. The Panamadam family was everything a traditional upper-middle-class Christian family in Kerala aspired to be. The patriarch, Tom Thomas, was a retired government employee. His wife, Anima, was a schoolteacher. They lived with their son, Roy Thomas, his wife, Jolly Joseph, and their 2 children. It was a tight-knit, multi-generational household, stable, God-fearing, and admired in their community. Roy was an engineer by training, but often struggled with employment. Jolly, his wife, was the opposite, self-assured, eloquent, and seemingly successful. She told everyone she was a lecturer at the prestigious National Institute of Technology in Calicut. She carried an ID badge, left the house at scheduled times, and projected the image of a highly educated, modern woman. In a conservative society where appearances and reputation carry enormous weight, Jolly quickly became the face of the family's future, poised, articulate, and accomplished. But no one knew that her entire identity was built on a lie. She had never worked at NIT. In fact, she had no job at all. Still, in a family so grounded in trust, no one questioned her. Not at first. Every day, she drove off in the direction of the college and spent her time loitering in canteens or public spaces. Roy had 2 siblings, Renji and Rojo. Marrying into such a respected and educated family, Jolly, herself from modest beginnings, was believed to have felt intense pressure to fit in and assert her place. In 2002, tragedy struck the household. Anama, the matriarch who was aged 57 at the time, collapsed after drinking a glass of water after she had returned from a walk. She began feeling unwell and then collapsed to the floor. She was taken to hospital where she later died. The doctors declared her death to be from a heart attack. The family mourned, as families do. Anama was in her late 50s, and the death was attributed to a heart attack. There was no autopsy, no police investigation, just prayers, tears, and acceptance. 6 years later, in 2008, Tom Thomas, 66, died in a similar fashion. The next-door neighbor, Bava, recalls hearing the sound of someone being violently ill next door. He stated that Joseph called him and calmly told him that his father wasn't well. When Bava got there, he found Tom Thomas lying flat on his back, foaming at the mouth. Bava took him to hospital where doctors declared him dead from a heart attack. According to Bava, Roy Thomas and Joseph inherited the property in Tom Thomas's will. Police investigations found that by the time of the elder Thomas's death, all his assets had been transferred to Joseph. In 2011, Jolly Joseph called Bava, stating that her husband was ill. On Bava's arrival, the bathroom door was locked from the inside, and when he got in the room, he found Roy lying on the bathroom floor, foaming from the mouth. Jolly stated that he had begun vomiting and convulsing shortly after a meal. Roy Thomas was 40 years old. The cause of death was then ruled as suicide due to financial issues. Anama's brother, Matthew Manjayadil, called for a post-mortem report and an inquiry into Roy's cause of death. His time, a post-mortem was conducted, and the results were disturbing: cyanide poisoning. However, Jolly managed to convince the family that Roy had been depressed and that he had taken his own life due to his financial problems. The family believed her. That same year, Matthew Manjayadil, Anama's brother who was 66 and a retired army man, died suddenly after a visit to the house, swooning and died after. He had been vocal about the suspicious circumstances surrounding Roy's death and was pushing for a second post-mortem. In 2016, Alfine Shaju, the toddler of Roy's cousin Shaju and his wife Silly, died aged 2 years old after consuming food during a Holy Communion feast. A few months later, Alfine's mother, Silly, also died after collapsing at a dental clinic. She was aged 41. Silly is said to have eaten a mushroom capsule, which Jolly allegedly convinced Silly that would help her with energy and depression. Silly died on the spot soon after. She had been sharing close contact with Jolly in the days leading up to her death. Witnesses reported she had seizures and foam at the mouth, symptoms eerily similar to the previous deaths. A year later, Jolly married Roy's cousin Shaju. By the time Jolly Joseph remarried, the cracks had already started to show, at least to those who dared to look closely. After the sudden death of her first husband, Tom Thomas, in 2011, something didn't sit right. Bava remembered being shown a new version of Tom's will, one that conveniently handed over the family home to Jolly. That alone raised eyebrows. But it was Roy Thomas's brother, Rojo, who started to pull at the thread. Rojo began digging into the witnesses listed on the will, and what he found made his blood run cold. The whole family attacked him. They were not ready to believe Rojo, Bava recalled. Such was the clout and image that Jolly had in the family. They all thought that Rojo Thomas was saying this because he had an eye on the house and property. She had them exactly where she wanted them, doubting the whistleblower, defending the deceiver. By 2017, even Bava, once loyal, once blind, began to see through the mask. Rojo wasn't done, not by a long shot. He requested a copy of Roy Thomas's post-mortem report, and what he found turned the story on its head. According to Bava, Joseph had told him that she was making Roy an omelet for dinner when he suddenly ran to the bathroom and collapsed. But the post-mortem said otherwise. Roy's stomach contents revealed something completely different. Rice and chickpea curry. No omelet. No trace of her version of events. Rojo shared this with Bava, and the doubts, once just whispers, were now deafening. Rojo confronted Jolly about the lie. She didn't flinch. She stuck to her story, unwavering. But that only made things worse. The calm in her denial. It chilled them. So they did what the police wouldn't. They launched their own investigation. One by one, they looked back at the deaths that had haunted their family. And in every single one, they found a chilling constant. Jolly Joseph was always there. Desperate for justice, they went to the district police. Their complaint was pushed to the Tamarassery police station in Kozhikode. But the response was ice cold. There was nothing to investigate. The official cause of Roy's death, after all, was listed as suicide. They didn't give up. They went higher, to the crime unit of the Kozhikode police. And this time the answer was different. This time, the police finally saw it. A pattern. A potential crime. A case worth opening. The police launched their investigation, and it didn't take long before Jolly Joseph's carefully spun web began to fray. Like Rojo Thomas before them, investigators quickly discovered that Joseph's claims about her career were a lie. But that was only the beginning. Police found it deeply suspicious that Joseph had told people Roy Thomas had died of a heart attack, when in fact she knew his death had been ruled a suicide by cyanide. That kind of detail doesn't slip out of memory. It's concealed. In total, investigators uncovered nearly 50 contradictions between her version of events and the evidence they were gathering. Lies layered over lies, stitched together with a smile. And then came the question no one wanted to ask. What about the others? Roy Thomas was the only death followed by a post-mortem. For the rest, family members who'd seemingly died of illness, accidents, or sheer bad luck. There had been no autopsies, no toxicology, no reason at the time to question it. Now there was every reason. Police ordered the bodies exhumed. They needed answers. And this time they wouldn't be taking Jolly Joseph's word for anything. Police said she first killed her in-laws to seize the family home. When her marriage to Roy Thomas began to unravel, she eliminated him too. But Roy's uncle, Manjadiel, was vocal. He demanded a post-mortem, a threat. So she allegedly silenced him next, lacing his drink with poison. Then came Celie Zacharias and her young daughter Alphine. Targets, not for wealth, but for proximity. They were in her way. Jolly wanted to grow closer to Celie's husband, Shaju Zacharias. Jolly told many people she wished for a husband like Shaju, Simon revealed. Police documents showed she poisoned Celie's water and Alphine's food. 3 names appeared on the arrest warrant. Her father-in-law, Tom Thomas, Roy's uncle, Manjadiel, and young Alphine. It was a staggering development, and one that echoed beyond Kerala. Just weeks later, in another part of India, a separate man would be arrested, accused of killing 10 people with cyanide-laced offerings for money. But Jolly wasn't chasing gold. She wasn't just hunting for property. She wanted control, devotion, admiration. She wanted a new life, no matter how many bodies she had to step over to get it. Kerala's cultural landscape played a key role in how Jolly allegedly escaped suspicion for so long. Most families see postmortems as desecration. Unless someone formally alleges foul play, doctors and police are unlikely to press for autopsies. Death certificates were issued, and funeral rites were conducted without resistance. Dr. Shirley Vasu, a retired forensic surgeon, noted that ward members are required under the Panchayati Raj Act to oversee inquests, but this is rarely implemented. Thus, a systematic failure allowed these deaths to pass unquestioned. It was Roy's brother, Roho Thomas, who finally pierced the veil. In October 2019, Jolly was arrested. Also accused are jewelry store clerk who police say helped Jolly Joseph carry out her killings, along with a goldsmith who supplied it. Goldsmiths are legally allowed to buy cyanide, which is used to extract gold and polish it. Both men say they are innocent. Jolly's arrest triggered a media frenzy. She attempted suicide in February 2020 while in custody by biting her wrist. Though not fatal, it underscored the emotional toll of the case. Jolly was charged with homicide, conspiracy, and document forgery. Her lawyer, B.A. Allure, mounted a fierce defense, arguing that no tangible property was transferred to Jolly and that confessions made to police are not legally admissible unless given before a magistrate. Allure claimed Jolly had told police that the deaths were either suicides or heart attacks. He also pointed out that confessions from alleged cyanide suppliers did not conclusively link Jolly to the act of administering poison. Her defense further questioned the validity of post-mortem results from exhumed bodies, arguing cyanide traces are difficult to detect years later. He labeled the case a witch hunt and accused investigators of coercion. In 2023, a former friend named Johnson testified that Jolly confessed to the murders and even sought help to move the remains from their burial vaults. Her siblings, Babu and Tomi Joseph, also claimed she had privately admitted guilt. Yet, despite the overwhelming public opinion and circumstantial evidence, the defense insists that the case is based on suspicion, not proof. The Jolly Joseph case, still unfolding in the Kozhikode Additional Sessions Court, is as much about a woman as it is about a system that failed to ask questions, failed to follow protocols, and allowed grief to replace justice. Was Jolly Joseph a cold-blooded murderer, or a woman trapped in a web of allegations without sufficient evidence? Romo, the son of Jolly Joseph, said to a Malayalam TV channel that, "My mother could not have committed all the murders alone. I suspect help from outsiders. I am sure that all those involved in this crime would be brought to book." Romo has said raised allegations against Shaju, Jolly's second husband, stating that the deaths of Shaju's wife and daughter had no impact on him. Romo stated that just 3 days after his wife and daughter died, Shaju and Jolly were discussing the possible marriage. Shanju claims he agreed to the wedding for the sake of the children. Shaju has also stated that he heard Roy was addicted to alcohol and had undergone treatment. Romo denies this and said, such statements are being made to deliberately create confusion. Until a court delivers its verdict, she remains, in the eyes of the law, innocent. But for the families of the deceased, justice delayed feels eerily close to justice denied. As the trial continues, India waits, watching one of its most haunting domestic murder cases inch toward resolution. In a further twist, Jolly's lawyer, Alur, died on the 30th April 2025 at the age of 62. This has been another True Crime After Dark with VanessaGrey. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and remember, these episodes drop every Sunday. Until next time, be safe.